Hi everybody, welcome back to Thurscraft. I'm going to show you quickly how I built this Necromunda piece. It's a 1 foot by 1 foot square for my Necromunda board I'm building, which should turn out 3 by 3 and with lots of elevation. As you can see, I know that the camera kind of cuts the top part off, but there isn't anything above this tube. So, yeah, let's check that out.
The first thing that I wanted to do before even starting building was to break down some of these plastic Tupperware lids and grid them out and turn them into some square tiling that I put on previous pieces I built and this piece to give them some coherency. I then got my tub of old GW terrain bits and some boxes and tubes and started brainstorming how I was going to lay this out, which is usually how I start any project.
As you can see, I've gotten the basics of it set. None of this is glued down. So usually how I start building one of these is I just take this all might fall over when I move it, but I just take just random cool pieces of cardboard, tubes, and styrofoam, whatever I can get my hands on that I like the shape of, and I play with it, rearrange it till I feel like it looks good and I like the way that it comes out. Then I usually take and I grab other buildings that I've worked on just to see how they line up together.
So now I'm gonna plug in my hot glue gun and make sure it's on. And listen to some hive scum and start gluing this together.
I used caulking as the main adhesive on anything that needed serious structural support, so this cardboard box was going to also be attached to that cardboard tube, and that cardboard tube weighs quite a bit, so I made sure to put a big blob of caulking in the bottom and clamp it down and let it dry. I used hot glue on the styrofoam, which is the tendency that I have for gluing styrofoam is to use hot glue. I'm using another piece of the plastic I cut out of that Tupperware top from the beginning, and I wanted to do some sort of pattern on the top of this cardboard box. So first I cut out where the cardboard tube was going to be, and then I 2" by 2" measured and cut out a grid on the plastic card piece, and then glued them down in kind of like a checkered pattern, and then filled in some of the places with grinding grading. I also used the insert for the big cardboard tube to give it a little bit more structural support, because I didn't know how well it was going to adhere to that cardboard box. I like to secure any big styrofoam piece with a wooden dowel. This one I drilled a hole through the MDF base and glued the wooden dowel through that, and then shoved it through the styrofoam. I then test fitted the GW kit pieces that I wanted to use and started gluing down all the main pieces of the board. I then began gluing the GW pieces, and I could do this relatively quickly because I had already test fit where I wanted them before I had even glued the main pieces down, which allowed me to move quickly into building the ruined walls and the floor levels and finding the different levels of the piece and where I wanted them. And then started adding detail. There was a certain point whenever you're building where the pieces just seem to flow together and make up what you're looking for. This little sewer grate or sewer hatch that I built was one of those things. It just took me a few minutes and it came out really cool. It's actually probably my favorite part to this tile piece. I think it adds something really special to terrain when you can find time to add those little immersive details. I knew sealing the styrofoam in some way was going to be on the menu, so I started covering the back end with plastic card and textured paper and building the first floor on that side. I then spackled the other side of the styrofoam and added a little Baroque female face from a cake fondant mold. I then threw on a little texture in the form of coconut fiber and grabbed my sanding stick, which has a beveled edge and a sharp edge. It's just sandpaper glued to a stick. It has a beveled edge and a sharp edge, and I sanded down all of the spackle or drywall. I then started greebling it up with all the tubes that I felt like it needed, adding some into that center piece so that it looked a little bit like a cross section, like maybe it was a bridge house or something like that. I then built and mounted a little harness for wires and greebled it up some more, adding texture and flock and sand, and greebled and textured and flocked and sand until I was satisfied with it, and then I sealed it all with PVA glue and called it a day. I am very happy with the way this one came out, especially the little face detail on the styrofoam. Check out my live stream to ask me any questions while I build. Hit me up on Instagram if you have any other questions. And thanks for checking out Blurrscraft, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.
Blurs out.